Welcome to Gifted Underachievers, the podcast for mid-level creatives with delusional ambitions. In this segment, we talk about when you have too many projects on the go, what do? Do you ditch one of them, delay one of them, or something else? Hope you enjoy.
Hey, Pat.
Yes, James.
Well, I'm out back here in the clubhouse, and I'm doing a little landscaping, building a swale, otherwise known a swale, sort of a ditch-like berm type thing.
Oh, God.
And that got me to thinking,
Yeah.
when is it the right time to ditch or delay a project?
Wow.
And how do you know?
Yeah. Okay. I was going to ask you why the ditch, because listen, John Irving's been pretty good lately. We don't have to put him in the ground. But
Yeah.
when is it time to ditch or delay a project, and how do you know? Oh man, well I probably mentioned this previously, but I ditched a novel in I think it was 2024 that I'd been working on for 2 years, and I had 50,000 words. I had the whole fucking
Ouch.
I was close to the end, and I just didn't give a shit anymore. I ditched it.
Really?
January of 2025, I went, nah, I'm not feeling it.
Wow.
Yeah.
So do you think you're going to go back to it?
No, I don't think I will. No, I think it's over.
So why? What pushed the final decision?
It was a badly conceived idea in the first place, and I powered through thinking this is the logical next step on my creative growth. And I never really got a handle on it, and yet I wrote 50,000 hard-earned words, and then I just went, it's like, who's in charge here, me or me? And so I picked me.
I'm hearing sunk cost fallacy.
God, I love that term so much.
Yeah. Do you feel like you suffered that a little bit? Like I've got 25,000 words I'm going to push to the end, even though I'm not really feeling it.
Kind of, yeah. I mean, probably for about a good 10,000 words, between 40 and 50K, like up to 40K, I think I was like, this is like, it's writing for sure. It's quite a lot of writing, but I was mildly interested in the story world. And then I realized, this person is not meaningful. I don't care what happens. And if I don't care, sure as hell, nobody else is going to care. So, and then I did have this moment of really, I just spent like a year and a half, maybe 2 years on this thing. And I'd had the idea quite a long time earlier or before that, but I just was like, so what?
Did you feel like the time was wasted?
No, not at all. I never feel like time is wasted on stuff. I don't know why. I just don't have that gene, I guess. No, time is, you got to do something with your time. You might as well write a book, even if you don't finish it.
You're going to abandon moments. So how many degrees have you started and left in the last semester?
0. How about you? When do you ditch or
when do I ditch?
Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you, short stories are a lot easier, but I think there's a similarity in that you get into the writing and it just doesn't feel like it's going anywhere and it's not exciting. And so I think to sort of generalize to creative projects, generally, when you just don't feel it.
You don't care, right?
It's like sometimes an idea comes on like a freight train.
Yeah.
And you're just like, I got to do this and I got to get started. And you get started. And then a little ways down the road, you're like, you know what? It's not a freight train. It's more like a squeaky kind of wheel that I need to now get rid of. Yeah,
that makes a lot of sense. And I do agree. However, I also want to suggest that, there's a difference between an idea that needs another idea before it can work, and an idea that just doesn't go anywhere. So I think I have ideas, quite a lot. Actually, I have quite a lot of ideas. And so I don't know compared to other people, but compared to if I never had any ideas, I have quite a lot. I'm not making any sense right now. Anyway, what I try to do is, either note down or remember or use a notebook, or I write them on my wall. If I have an idea, but it's not enough to really, or maybe I'll dick around with it. Maybe I'll write 10,000 words and go, it's missing something. I don't
Uh-huh.
throw it. I don't throw the idea out. I might sort of have my my antenna tuned for the next couple of years, even 5 years, to the
Mhm.
missing half of that idea, because you never know when
Yeah.
something
I
is
love
going to meet something else.
Yeah, no, I love that. A good idea can need a second good idea to really kind of get it to where it needs to be. I think
Yeah,
that's, yeah, no, I think that's awesome.
to be a
And then
thing.
the other thing I would say too is that the pause or delay of a
Yes. Yeah.
so I have, this one bigger project that I'm working on, and but I had another that I was working on kind of at the same time, and I really like them both. I really
Mm,
feel like they both have meaning. They're completely different
yeah.
and like radically different. And I just sort of got to the point where I was like, I'm trying to push two balls uphill at the same time,
Yeah.
and one keeps rolling back while I'm dealing with the other one.
Yeah.
And I just can't, the focus needs to be on the one, and then I'm going to come back to this one because I really, really, really like it.
Right.
And so yeah, so there was that decision too.
Yeah. Yeah. You got to choose. So how did you prioritize since you liked them both?
The one that I felt like a little bit more immediate passion about, and that I felt like I understood the entire pathway. So I knew
Yeah.
how I knew my beginning, middle, and end,
Yeah.
and I had already written the last scene.
Okay.
So I was like, this one is the more mature of the two.
Yeah.
But I like them both, and I look forward to being able to return to the other one. And
Yeah.
then the other thing I do is because we never throw anything away. There's folders that I have in my computer that sometimes I'll go back and look at stuff, and sometimes something will kind of resonate. I'll be like, you know what, I walked away from this, but I think there's something here. Maybe at some point I'll come back to it, or I'll use an element of it
Yeah.
somewhere else. So yeah, that can happen a lot too.
I've thrown a lot of stuff away. Remember when I was telling you I moved and I had all these old stories that I'd written?
Hmm.
Probably hard copies and like various USBs and stuff. And I backed my car up to the waste facility and emptied the trunk into the
Ow.
paper recycling. And it was because I wasn't that writer anymore. I could try and rescue them.
Yeah.
So I do throw stuff away, actually. I remember a lot of what I wrote. I don't have lists of stuff I've written, but I remember the ideas that I had, and I think, I could take
Mhm.
another run at that, but it wouldn't be using the old material because it was just written too long ago. I'm not the
Yeah.
same writer. But
Yeah.
just to say, I do actually throw stuff away.
Yeah, I think more of a hoarder. But that's because I've learned that, there's also the fact that like you can be writing something right now or working on a creative project right now, and then it loses its immediacy, its energy,
Mm.
and you set it aside, and then you come back to it, and for whatever reason the energy comes back, the
Yeah,
immediate
cool.
back. And like I've had stories where I'm like, this is going nowhere,
Yeah.
and I put it away, but I'm a little unsure, and then
Yeah.
I put it away and then come back to it a year, 2 years, 3 years later, and I'm like, oh, there was something here. It's not this,
Mm.
but it's something else.
I wonder if that's an aspect of the short form versus the long form, because I do mostly novellas, but
Hmm.
novels, and so it's very big. It's like, can you go to a partly created movie, and
Hmm.
versus something a lot shorter that's also visual. Um,
Yeah.
yeah,
I don't know. I mean, I think yes, it's easier with short stories, but with novels too, if that character isn't really, really dancing, you can pick that up. And and for the novel that you did where you got the 50,000 words and you've set it aside now, you may find that there's elements and ideas in there that can work but in a different way. The second
yeah.
idea is write a different book, but take some of those ideas with you.
Yeah, that one I haven't thrown out. Like, I haven't thrown the physical object out, because I'm
Hmm.
not sure. It was only a year. I already moved in here, so
Hmm.
I wrote it mostly here and where I live now, which I moved into in 2023, fall of 2023. So, it's not, I'm not going to throw it out in the next year. I'll figure it out. But yeah, you're right. I think it's because we have recurring themes and so on that we can keep ideas rotating, and then they find that other idea, or we can get a different perspective on it, and then it's ready. So I would say delaying is probably more common than ditching in my perspective.
Yeah. Well, and I think too about the artist who's, it's like you have the vision in your head and the execution isn't matching the vision.
Right.
And so you need to take a break, you need to step away, or it's just, you're kind of driven by what you want to see.
Yeah.
And, so you have the project that you ditch, but the idea itself, is still there.
Good point. Back to your ditch digging, buddy. What are you doing?
Yeah, I know.
Conversation's over.
I'm leaning. I'm a shovel leaner.
You're a shovel leaner. What are you, management?
Yeah, I know.
I'm gonna go back inside.
I've been made management.
Thanks so much for listening to Gifted Underachievers, the podcast for mid-level creatives with delusional ambitions. You can find us on iTunes, Spotify, and anywhere else you listen to podcasts. Hope you have a great creative week.